Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, October 16th, 2015. I am Dave Biddle, and I am happy to be joined by Brandon Castel. He is our newest Bucknuts staff member. He writes the very popular column Inside the Brain of BCast. Brandon, my man, how are you doing on this fine morning?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me on, and at least I know a couple people are reading, hopefully.
A couple times, a few thousand. Well, we've talked so much recruiting on the show throughout this week, and so much recruiting on the site in general. Man, I want to just go in depth with Ohio State-Penn State talk on today's show. First of all, Brandon, just your general vibe of this game. You know, if you're a Buckeye fan, should you be feeling really good entering this one? Just what's your vibe entering this game tomorrow night?
That's a great question, and I think normally, when I looked at the schedule at the beginning of the year, I thought this would be a game, as you're going into this game at night against Penn State. I thought we would have a lot more clarity about this Ohio State team, so I thought we'd have a really good sense of this team coming into this game. And B, I really thought we'd have a sense of just how much better they would be than Penn State at this point in the season. I think we know they're a lot better than Penn State from a talent standpoint, but if I'm an Ohio State fan or, I'm someone who's surrounding the program, I'm a little bit nervous going into this game just because Ohio State they don't seem to have put it all together yet. Now, we know they played really well in the season opener against Virginia Tech, and, we can go back and say, well, how good's Virginia Tech? But, they always play people tough, especially in Blacksburg, and, with that this team was going to be, there were going to be some bumps in the road coming into the season. Now we're kind of hitting that midway point of the season. And I'm not sure we figured out exactly who this team is. I mean, I think we know their identity is to run the ball with Zeke Elliott. I think that they want to be a team that's led by their defense, but I think we've seen some cracks and some chinks in the armor defensively the last few weeks with some scrambling quarterbacks. Certainly not the problem that Christian Hackenberg is going to propose or going to pose this week for the team, but different problems. Penn State always comes ready to play. It's a rivalry game, maybe not on the same level as it was in the mid-2000s when Jim Tressel was in Columbus and, Joe Paterno is still up in Happy Valley. But there's still that rivalry aspect. There's still that playing for pride aspect. And as much as I'm not sold on Hackenberg and in general as being an elite NFL quarterback, the guy clearly has a lot of talent. And so anytime you got a guy with that much talent in his arm, you got to be worried a little bit going into the game, just saying, hey, if we can get to the quarterback, and that's the key to me is that offensive line for Penn State. If we can get to the quarterback, then I like Ohio State's chances.
Let's get a score prediction. I will give mine in a moment. Buckeyes favored by 17. Obviously, night game at the Shoe, or they're billing it as dark night at the Shoe. We'll get to that in a little bit. But give me your score prediction, Brandon.
Yeah, this is a tough one, and really this has been a tough Ohio State team to predict in score-wise. Every time I think, okay, they've got it figured out, I'm going to go all in on this team, and I'm going to predict, they put all the pieces together and come out and steamroll somebody. They don't quite have it figured out. I mean, you even look this past week against Maryland, and for one half of football, I think everybody came into that game saying, hey, Maryland's one of the worst teams in the country. Certainly, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. They just got shut out by Michigan, and they're just not a very good team. And yet they were step for step with Ohio State for a little bit of that game. And obviously, the Buckeyes turned it on in the second half and put them away pretty handedly down the stretch. But I am of a believer that I need to see it on the field first. I need to see this team put it together before I'm going to buy them as a team that's going to go out and win by 3 touchdowns. So to me, 17 feels like too much. Would I be surprised if they won by 30? Yes. Would I be surprised if they won by 23, 24? No. But I just think 17 is too much for me right now because I haven't seen enough of this team consistently. I think it's going to be a little closer. I actually think, look back at last year, this is a game that went to double overtime in Happy Valley. They obviously went on and won the national championship, and they would not have been a part of the playoff had they lost that game. I see a similar game where Ohio State feels like they have it kind of put away. If you remember, they had that game in hand. It looked like it was all Buckeyes at halftime. Penn State came roaring back in the second half. I see a little bit of that again in this game, just because I haven't seen enough from this Ohio State team to think they can just come out and do it for 4 quarters. So I'm going to say I think something along the lines of a 35-27. I could see it coming down to the fourth quarter, and JT Barrett maybe making a big play in the red zone at the end to kind of seal it for the Buckeyes, or at least maybe put them up, and maybe the defense seals it, a la what we saw with Eli Apple making a big play and Von Bell making a big play kind of at the end of those last couple games.
You and I are not seeing eye to eye on this one, my man. Of course, my predictions have been terrible this year, but I think this is the week Ohio State puts it all together. And I said that last week. They show signs of it. It was really the first week that I think this offense did what it's going to do for the rest of the season as far as JT Barrett being the red zone quarterback. I love JT Barrett being the red zone quarterback, and we'll get to that in a moment, get your thoughts on that. Furthermore, I think Christian Hackenberg being so turnover-prone, Penn State's offensive line, it's getting better, but I still think Ohio State's defensive line is going to be able to get some things done up front with that new Rushman package, where they take Tommy Shutout, put Sam Hubbard in, and put Joey Bosa in at defensive tackle. I love that, getting the 4 best defensive linemen on the field. So I look for Ohio State to pressure Hackenberg, force turnovers. There's usually a pick 6 in this game, and I think there's going to be one tomorrow night. I look for Ohio State's offense to be efficient. This is going to be, this is a very tough Penn State defense, especially up front. They have a very good defensive line. So it's going to be not easy to get. As Urban Meyer said, they make you earn every yard. But I really like the Buckeyes in this one. I like them 42-14. They haven't covered the last 5 weeks. So I'm asking them to buck the trend this week, and I think they will. So I have Buckeyes 42-14. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about
Dave. Let me just
go ahead.
Jump in on that, because I think that's interesting, and I could definitely see that playing out. To me, I look at the stats and I look at Hackenberg the last 3 games. So he struggled obviously in that Temple game, 11 of 25, 44%, threw a pick, no touchdowns, and that's kind of the Hackenberg we've seen. And if he goes to that Hackenberg, it's kind of like your boy a little bit, Andy Dalton. I could see that bad Hackenberg coming out. But the last 3 games, he's got 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, San Diego State, Army, and Indiana, not world beaters, but they put away Indiana pretty handedly last week. Again, I do think Ohio State is the far superior team, and if they play up to their talent, and I do like the JT Barrett addition, I think that will help them be more efficient, put the points on the board. It's kind of remarkable to think that they've only been scoring touchdowns at basically a 50-50 split when they've been in the red zone before JT came in that role. So I think that'll make a big difference, but I want to see it. I know that the talent's there, and if they come out and beat them up, I could see a score similar to what you're talking about. But I want to see it a little bit before I completely throw all my chips on the table.
Yeah, that's understandable. And one more thing I wanted to throw out there. Penn State is a different team on the road, and not just this year. We haven't seen them play a true road game this year. Their one game on a neutral field, they lost to Temple. That game was technically at Temple, but it was really on a neutral field in Philadelphia where the Eagles play. There's more Penn State fans at that game than Temple, even though Temple's in Philadelphia, obviously. So we'll see how I think the atmosphere plays a role here. It obviously does when you go to Penn State playing at night in whiteout conditions, and I think maybe it won't be quite as boisterous in Ohio Stadium. I'm hoping it's going to be, but I think that's going to play a role. It's going to help the Buckeyes even more. We'll see what happens, though. I don't blame you for being a little cautious, because the Buckeyes have not looked like anything resembling a juggernaut. I just think this is going to be the week they finally put it together. And let me ask you, touched on this. You said you like it. Your thoughts on JT Barrett as the red zone quarterback, and furthermore, make the argument of why, if he's the red zone quarterback, he's not just the quarterback, period.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and I think why I like it is because, well, first of all, for starters, I think if you would ask me in most situations, I would say I hate it. If you would have told me most teams, if you told me that the Cleveland Browns were going to use Johnny Manziel in the red zone, or whatever it might be, I would tell you I think it's a bad idea if you're switching out quarterbacks like that. I don't know how how you can get into a rhythm, how you can really have because it's going to work for a while, but when it's really tested is going to be in tough situations when you're in a real battle, you fall behind, your team's facing some adversity. Urban has been the one guy who's been able to make these kind of weird situations work. Obviously, we know he did it with Chris Leak and Tim Tebow, and it just seems like he's got the right chemistry in the locker room. He's got the right chemistry with these guys. They seem to like each other. They seem to have a good relationship with each other. And certainly they both want to play and this kind of fills that void a little bit. I'm not sure, obviously I don't know if either guy is truly happy, but I think getting them both on the field, they both have different weapons and skill sets. I think you can make an argument that JT would be the better quarterback overall if you're saying I got to go with one guy. But Cardale still has a lot of skills that scare you when you're back on your own 20 and he can throw the ball 75 yards down the field. He's been able to throw the ball pretty accurately down the field this year. It's really been the short, intermediate, over the middle stuff where he struggled. I think that's where most of his interceptions have come, under pressure and kind of forcing the ball into a window that he just can't make a play on. So to me, I don't know if there comes a point you say, you know what, JT just gives us a better chance to win and we go with it. Or if you say, you know what, if we can make this work, maybe they have the right skill sets to complement each other for one season. Let Cardale be the guy who goes out, stretches the field. He can run a few different things, in between the 20s. And then let JT come in and run more of that direct snap and run or the read option or, really some of that intermediate passing game where he really excels. I mean, it's the reason I guess I would say I see it working is A, Urban and what he does, and then B, just how drastically unique their skill sets are from each other, that they have so little in common as a quarterback. They're both mobile, but in completely different ways. I think JT's mobility is a little more effective. Cardale's, he's got that ability to take a sack and bounce off of it. So I don't know how it's going to play out. If it was, 98% of all the other coaches in college football, I'd be worried. But Urban Meyer just seems to have that Midas touch to make weird things like this, or like Braxton Miller going to wide receiver, or, just some of the things that he's been able to do in his career just to kind of make it work. So until it doesn't, I'm gonna trust that Urban's got something that he can do with it that'll be effective.
Okay, before I let you go, dark night at the shoe. Fans are supposed to wear black. I mean, you have Shelley Meyer urging people to wear black. For some reason, Gene Smith says, well, we're not promoting this in the athletic department, but the head coach is promoting it. His wife is. All the assistant coaches are. It's like, Gene, just say you're promoting it. It's okay. It's okay. Your thoughts on this? Are you a fan of Dark Night at the Shoe? Are you a fan of the black jerseys? Your thoughts, BCast.
You know what? I mean, I am a fan, to be honest. I'm a fan because I'm a fan of just the atmosphere. I'm a fan of the uniqueness of college football. I'm a fan of sports and remembering that it's a game. And, I know a lot of Ohio State fans are traditionalists, and, I have friends who come up to me every day and say, I'm with Woody Hayes and Earl Bruce and Jim Tressel, that the only team that should ever win a game in Ohio Stadium should be wearing scarlet, and that's it. Nobody else should ever win a game there. And I get that mentality. I know there's so much that hangs on tradition when you look at college football and a program like Ohio State throughout the years. But, people tend to forget some of the changes and some of the different things that have happened throughout the years in terms of uniforms and mascots. And it's never been drastic at Ohio State. But wearing a black uniform for one game, I remember the outcry when they first went to those Nike Pro Combat uniforms, and they were supposed to be throwbacks, and they really weren't. But it was all right. I mean, it's football. It's a game. It's college kids having fun playing a game. And to me, Urban Meyer is not a guy who's going to come in. He's not Rich Rodriguez. He's not coming in to destroy your tradition. He's not coming in to change everything that Ohio State does and to trample on the coaches that came before him. He's been incredibly respectful. He's been incredibly cognizant of the history and tradition at Ohio State. So to me, to have one night where you really throw things out the window, you go something fun, something exciting, something new that catches attention, recruits love it, players love it. It brings a little bit different energy. Maybe you get a little boost in terms of the intensity of the crowd, which, you and I know it can be very loud, and it can be tough to play there when they're on point, but that doesn't always happen. I think this is a way to kind of bring a little different edge to it. And I'm all for if they looked bad, or if they went with orange and just something that was totally out of the blue, then I would be a little alarmed. But to me, you wear black uniforms one time, it's something that's just cool, different, unique. I have no problem with it.
Very well said. And there is scarlet and gray in the uniform, so very well said on all points there. Great insights all around from Brandon Castel. Thank you very much, BCast. And thanks to the listeners for tuning in. I really appreciate that. Hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend. Take it away, best damn band in the land.